So with little over a month away, we've gotten our next Thor trailer, and we're going to talk about that and more on today's episode of the Geek Watch Podcast.
This is the Geek Watch Podcast with Brian Hatcher and Mandy Petrie.
Greetings, Geek Watchers, and welcome to episode 151 of the Geek Watch Podcast. I'm Brian Hatcher, and with me, as always, Geek Watch's own resident geek goddess, Mandy Petrie.
Hello, Brian.
So, there have been a few bits of trailer news. At this point, we're a little bit on hold because things are over the horizon. It's like a little over a couple of weeks away, we get Miss Marvel. And then, of course, we still got a little over a month when they're going to be releasing Thor, but we did get a Thor trailer.
Yes.
So, what did you think?
It's very exciting. Got a little bit more of, are we calling it Olympus? Is that where we are?
Yes.
I don't know if we could say Mount Olympus, but Planet Olympus, and there's Zeus, so I get to see a little bit more of that, and love getting to see Valkyrie at New Asgard in her suit, looking very Men in Black International there, and then, of course, Jane, and what has Jane been doing? I'm sure everyone cheered when they saw Mjolnir at all. Yay, Mjolnir's back, and Jane with all of her beating up bad guys and arms now.
Oh, yes.
Yep.
The one thing we definitely have to talk about in the trailer is we did finally get to see Christian Bale as Thor the God Butcher.
He's looking all machinist. You're like, it's back to his creepy anorexia look. Wow.
He is quite a striking figure and, of course, a very dangerous individual. They don't call him a God Butcher for nothing. He kills gods. That's literally his thing. And in fact, in the original trailer, and I think they showed the scene again in the new trailer, but when Thor was in that frozen tundra, that huge skeleton of that monster, that was a god, and that was Gorr's, the God Killer's
victim.
Yeah, and we actually got a chance to see his sword. So they showed his god-slaying sword, and so we know
like
that's
stabbing into the ground and then creating earthquakes and the like.
So it looks like they're going to be introducing a lot of aspects from the comics, especially with Gorr the God Butcher. But one thing they're probably going to be doing also, which people have been going back and forth on this, and I've been hearing stuff about this as well, is, of course, we did get Jane Foster as Thor. And something that more than one person has pointed out is, well, we've never seen her out of that costume, have we, in any of the trailer stuff? And it's, no, we haven't. It's like, how close are they going to be doing the Jane Foster Thor story from the comics? And it's looking, according to what some people are saying, it looks like they're going to pull it straight out of the comics. Which means Jane Foster's in a world of hurt. Because, do you know about the...
I don't think so.
When we first saw Thor, Jane Foster as Thor, we didn't know it was Jane Foster. And that was a mystery in the comic. Who is this female version of Thor? And after a few issues of the comic, she changes back into Jane Foster. But a Jane Foster that is very thin, very ill, bald, and with cancer.
Oh, my goodness.
And the thing with Jane Foster being Thor, of course, she was worthy to pick up the hammer. And when she transforms into Thor, using the power of the hammer, Mjolnir, she's completely healthy.
Right.
But when she transforms into Thor, all the chemo medication is driven out of her body. Which means that when she turns back into Jane Foster, she's a person with cancer with no chemo. And so there was like a time clock running. If Jane Foster kept changing into Thor, her chemo wasn't going to work, but there would come a point where if she changed back into Jane Foster, she could die.
Yeah.
So there was that choice of, do you not turn into Thor and hopefully you can get the cancer cured, or do you stay Thor and she can't change back into Jane, or she would die? And that was the driving narrative of the comic for the longest time. And so a lot of people are thinking, we're not seeing a whole lot of Jane as Jane in the trailers. And
that's when he says it's been 8 years, so many days, and so many, he knows the exact date why they haven't seen each other in 8 years. Oh, that's heartbreaking.
Yeah, there's the possibility we may get the scene where she changes into Jane Foster and she's thin and frail and with no hair. And at that moment, you realize, oh, this is not good.
Right.
So you'll have that, maybe that moment, we'll see. I've always said I would love to see Jane Foster's Thor because that was in the comics. I would love to have seen her be able to wield the hammer. But there were parts of that story I wasn't all that eager to see.
And don't want to see her without the hammer.
Yeah, I don't want to see that, but I think we're going to. And that's going to be a really powerful story to tell. It's going to be a really difficult story to have to tell, but a very real story. We still got a little bit over a month to go before we get that, but we did, like I said, a couple of weeks we get Miss Marvel.
Yep.
And August we'll be seeing She-Hulk, Attorney at Law. Here's the thing. I have to talk about this because I saw this. If you go on Disney Plus, and I checked this on Disney Plus, if you look at the trailer for She-Hulk, Attorney at Law on Disney Plus, you notice that, and we talked about this last week about a lot of people complaining about the CGI, how it looked really flat and not all that good. When you go on Disney Plus, it looks like the CGI is a little bit better. You see a little more light gradation. You see it looks a lot more natural. I'm wondering if we didn't get a Sonic.
Yep, definitely, absolutely. Like, we got to listen to our fans. They know what they're doing. But speaking of Disney Plus, I do remember the teaser trailer that I saw today.
Oh, well, the teaser trailer?
Yes.
For what?
Willow,
yes.
Have you seen it?
I have not seen the trailer.
Oh
for
my
that yet.
goodness! Of course, I'm so excited about it anyway, and once you see it, you'll be just as thirsty as I am. And that's just a fantastic world that Ron Howard created. And I, for one, was wanting a prequel series with the three sorceresses, with Babmorda, Shalindria, and Roselle. I think that could be just a fantastic, story to tell and to hear. And I can't wait for you to see it and to hear what your thoughts are on it.
Oh, yeah. I'll definitely have to check that out.
It's just a teaser, but it's enough.
Oh, yeah. So we got that to look forward to. Hopefully soon. Did they give you a date when that was going to be coming out?
I was thinking November.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we got a while to go, but they're not letting you, they're keeping you on the hook. Like, here it is, just a little bit. And
here's a taste.
Just a little taste, and just that little bit you get to see a lot of your favorites and how much bigger this world is. We're looking at Lord of the Rings. We're looking at Game of Thrones, and Warwick Davis just looks fantastic.
You had to bring him back.
Right. Always love him in everything. And I love his mockumentaries and that he did with Ricky Gervais. Those are always so fun. And
I remember those. But the other thing too, going back to what we were talking about with the CGI, it's funny because of course, now everybody's into multiverse stuff, and I haven't seen the Chip and Dale movie, although it's out there.
Oh, I want to see it so bad.
Yeah, well, they showed part of this trailer, and this shows you just how much of a, we'll say, multiverse type movie this is. They're bringing in a bunch of cartoon characters from all over the place. And, of course, making jokes about getting plastic surgery to get your 3D in. One thing that got me is one of the characters in this movie is Ugly Sonic.
That's amazing.
They brought back the CGI Sonic that everybody hated.
It was so creepy, and the little eyes, and yes.
There's this comment, oh my God, his teeth look so human. Oh. And I saw that and I was like, okay, that's hilarious.
I definitely want to see Chip and Dale. It's got to be. It's absolutely in the world of Who Framed Roger Rabbit. It has to be. There's no way it can't be. And I'm so excited. I want to see it. I want to see those kind of interactions that we get. Yeah, I can wait on it, but I want to see it.
Oh, yeah. Of course, everybody's dipping their toe into this whole idea of a multiverse. So everybody's doing their versions of it. And I'm still going to say that up to this point, my favorite multiverse movie is still Everything Everywhere All at Once, which was, again, I don't want to keep just praising this movie, but by God, what a wonderful film.
Well, which I haven't seen yet, but I did see an article that Short Round and Data, he came back and did this movie because he thought that he was ready to come back to Hollywood, and I was excited about that.
Oh, yeah. His character in the movie is amazing. It's wonderful. To be honest, no matter how much he may or may not wanted to come back to Hollywood for a role like that, you couldn't say no to it. It was just so good. And he was amazing in it. Again, like I said in my original review, the majority of the characters in this movie have to play various roles because of this multiverse. There are different versions of everybody. And his character is the first character that you see him as another version of himself.
Okay.
He's the character that sort of introduces all of that.
Uh-huh.
But yes, you definitely have to see this movie.
Okay.
And again, not wanting to sit here and just praise it all the time, but if you do see it, we are going to talk about it.
That Indiana Jones 5 is in production, so maybe he'll hop over there for us.
Oh, that's a
we'd
possibility.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, that's certainly a possibility.
Get the Spear of Destiny or whatever is.
There you go.
Happen.
Hey, I did want to talk to you a little bit. We discussed all the Doctor Who news that we got. Things have settled down a little bit, but there were some things that I did notice. The vlogosphere and over the internet about Doctor Who, and especially a lot of things they're talking about the 60th anniversary. And one thing that I've seen pointed out a couple places is that possibly the reason why we're seeing footage with David Tennant, Bernard Cribbins, and Catherine Tate, why we're seeing them film now, may be because they're very popular, busy actors, especially David Tennant, and this may have been the only time when you could get them all together. So this may be like a pre-filming. Let's go ahead and shoot them now while we got them, and then we're going to shoot more stuff later.
Yeah.
And that may be why the majority of the news that we're seeing is just them at this
so I
point.
can get back to Good Omens. And
yeah, it's like we've got a lot to do. But one of the things that I noticed with all the talk of the 60th, who we're not hearing about at all, is Jodie Whittaker.
Yeah.
It took just a few seconds, and then suddenly we're not even talking about her anymore.
To
and
completely erase her. And
yeah, completely. And I feel so badly about that.
Yeah.
And it just seems like she's already on the back burner. And we haven't even gotten a regeneration scene from her yet. We haven't seen her last episode. Although, and I've said it before, I'm really worried about that episode. I'm horribly worried about it because Chris Chibnall has demonstrated time and time again that he does not like doing heavy emotional shows. That's why he didn't do any of the Christmas episodes, because they are highly emotional and need to be. And there have been other times where he's basically sidestepped deep emotional plot lines. And the regeneration really needs to be emotional.
Right. Yeah.
Especially the fact we're losing Jodie. She deserves a deeply emotional, bring you to tears, at least one scene where she gets a send-off. And I'm just so scared Chris Chibnall is going to shortchange her there too.
Yeah.
I'm so scared that's going to happen. After everything that Jodie has had to put up with, she deserves at least a good send-off, and I hope she gets one. I'm just not hopeful. I'm just not. But I hope that it happens. But we have so much stuff to look forward to. They came out with the Kenobi trailer, and you got that. We got to see just a hint of Darth Vader. So it's, we're going to go there. And that's supposed to be like a 6-parter.
The Mandalorian kind of, you know.
Yeah, what they're trying to do is they're definitely trying to, just like in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, having those television 6-parter, 8-parter miniseries to help basically add more flavor to the main story, to give you different facets of that world. I think that's awesome.
The smaller scale stories with much more, I guess, heart rather than these big things going on.
Yeah, you can concentrate more on characterization, but we're also living in a world where, holy cow, even the TV shows look like movies.
Yeah.
We've gotten to that point for sure. But they're just constantly teasing stuff. Well, there was that news that we're going to get a new season of Daredevil with the original cast.
Really?
Yes,
Oh.
it's already been announced.
Way to go. And Disney's grabbing onto that creepy Netflix grittiness. All right. Okay.
We will go there.
Way to go.
So we'll
Could
get
that
some...
mean we get some more Defenders in the future? Could that be, you know?
Well, it's possible. I guess we will see. But they're definitely going to be testing the waters with a new series of Daredevil. We got a picture from the new Echo series.
Oh,
So that might weigh in a little with the Defenderverse, is what they're calling it. So we might get a little bit of a crossover there as well.
we also had Fisk from...
Yeah, we had the Kingpin. Easily one of the best villains in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, especially in Daredevil. Vincent D'Onofrio, what more can you say? He's been a good actor for a long time, but the stuff that he brought to Fisk was next level. And we definitely need a lot more of that. We got that in the horizon, but the next thing I think is in the pipeline is going to be Miss Marvel, and that's going to be interesting to see because that's going to be certainly a different flavor because it's going to be more YA, and I like a lot of the stuff.
We're going to have the Twilight of Marvel. Hey, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, and of course she's going to be in the Marvels, I think that's going to be, I can't remember if it's 2023 or 2024, and you can tell how old I am because I cringe every time I say 2023 and 2024. Like, how is it that?
Yeah, that's just 8 months away.
That's just 8 months away, exactly. But there's just so much interesting stuff coming up. And like I said, they're teasing us with a lot of stuff. And in a couple of weeks, we can start watching Miss Marvel, and we'll see what they do with that.
We shall see.
And so with that said, we come to the end of episode 151. Thank you for listening, and tune in next time for the latest in geek news and views with the Geek Watch podcast. For Mandy Petrie, this is Brian Hatcher, reminding all the Geek Watchers out there, we're all geeky about something. Be proud of yours. See you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Geek Watch podcast. If you enjoyed this program, don't forget to like and subscribe on your preferred platform and share this podcast on your social media. For links to all the ways you can listen to the Geek Watch podcast, as well as leave comments and suggestions, visit our website at geekwatch.net. The Geek Watch podcast is a Hanging J production.